I stared at the warm bag of blood, my fingertips a little numb. Yeah, I just drew 500 milliliters from my own arm. I stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen, splashed some on the cabinets, poured the rest on the floor, then started wiping, but didn't clean it all. Like someone running for their life, trying to erase everything, but too rushed to finish. I left some faint fingerprints on purpose, on the drawer edge, on the doorknob, like a dying woman's last signs of struggle. I grabbed a hammer and carefully dabbed some blood on the head. Then, pretending it was the weapon, I tossed it into the fireplace without hesitation. None of this was impulse, not some emotional breakdown. It was a plan, a script, a trap I stitched together bit by bit. I was faking a murder scene to frame my husband. I am so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically missing, soon to be presumed dead. I was driving that cheap rental car, thinking back on how I ended up here, step by step. Finally, it's my turn to tell the story. I used to think I was someone chosen by love. When I was a kid, they called me Amazing Amy. The smart, brave, always right girl in my parents' books was really just my parents' fantasy. They used her to fix me.
I was 10, I quit cello.
The real me was never smart enough, never perfect enough, never good enough to make them proud. So I learned, if you want to win, you have to pretend. I can be anyone. As long as I know who you want to see, I'll become her. I met Nick when I was 27, at the height of my shine. We met at a party. He was charming and funny, and I was hooked. I even played the perfect girl just to get close to him. He said he loved my sharpness, my edge, the way I didn't play by the rules. I believed him. I thought someone had finally fallen for the real me.
My colleagues tell me that you are not yet married.
We got married not long after that, but 2 years in, he turned into someone else. It was during the financial crisis. We were both caught in it, but instead of trying to earn money, he got lazy and aimless, just stayed home playing video games. My parents were well-known authors, and they set up a trust fund for me when I was a kid. But the crisis left them in serious debt, so I pulled almost $1 million from my fund to help them pay it off. To my surprise, Nick blamed me for making that decision on my own, like he forgot it was my money to begin with. But just as our relationship was about to fall apart, something happened that changed everything. That year, Nick's mom got sick. He didn't talk to me. He just decided to move back home to be with her. I couldn't adjust to life there, and he was always wrapped up in his family. He never asked how I felt, never cared about my frustration. Forever is a lie. It never belongs to women, especially not the ones who are too smart, too independent, too aware. He thought I didn't know he was cheating. Did he really think I was that stupid?
Last night, I went from desperate to pathetic.
He'd text me when I wasn't in the shower. He'd casually spray perfume on his collar. He'd lie while pretending to look calm in my eyes, saying I was too sensitive. Yeah, he's a liar. The funny thing is, he's a terrible one. He doesn't love me anymore, but he's too scared to leave. He's cowardly, timid, selfish. He thought I'd cry, beg, and compromise like other women, but I'm not. I'm Amy Dunn. If you betray me, you'll pay the price. I started watching police documentaries, not for fun, but to learn. I was planning a real disappearance, a kidnapping, a show where every step had to be as precise as a perfect crime. I began keeping a journal, not to remember, but to set the stage. I wrote in the journal how he slowly controlled me, hit me, threatened me. I created the image of a scared, terrified woman wanting to escape. I wrote myself as a woman about to die from domestic abuse, and he was the undisputed devil in the story. I met Noelle, the gullible, talkative, pregnant woman. I led her to believe Nick had abused me. A lie becomes real if someone believes it. I got him drunk, used him as a tool to raise my insurance payout. Then I maxed out his credit cards. I'm not some harmless housewife. I'm a woman enraged, a player determined to take control after being abandoned. Next came the fake pregnancy. Noelle's urine, the hospital reports, all perfectly aligned. I knew the police only looked at evidence, so I gave them everything they wanted. They wouldn't doubt a crying woman saying, "He hit me, he doesn't want our child," right? Then came my favorite part, setting the stage. While Nick was out, I smashed the dining room table. It was the last time I bled for this marriage. Literally. I drew my own blood and splattered it across the kitchen. I didn't clean it up. That was the point. Forensics would think it was his doing. They'd believe I struggled, screamed, and was taken. I hid the bloody hammer in the fireplace, burned the thoughtful diary, and stashed the electronics in the shed. Every item screamed, "Nick Dunn is the killer." I knew the police would find the clues I left at my father's house. That was on purpose. I wasn't running away, I was guiding. I'm the director. I decide where the camera looks. I cut my hair, dyed it, changed my style. Now I'm Nancy, paying cash, checking into a motel anonymously. I even bought myself some essentials. You think I'm crazy? No, I came prepared. But the difference between a madwoman and a genius is just a hammer. To make it more real, I hit my face with the hammer, breaking my cheekbone. Yeah, it hurt a lot, but you'll never understand how much sharper the pain of betrayal by love is. Meanwhile, Nick and Margot finally started to suspect. They found the gift box with the clues in the shed, but the hammer was missing. They knew what I left behind, but it was all too late. The next day, I went to the internet cafe, checked the news to see how my plan was slowly taking root. I couldn't help but smile, that sick satisfaction when you see someone walk right into your trap. I started getting close to my neighbor Greta, telling the betrayal story like a normal woman. I became the poor woman, betrayed by her husband, alone and wandering. Everyone loves that story. But who'd know I wasn't telling the truth, just the lines that win. Meanwhile, I knew Nick was starting to panic. He would fly to New York to hire that expensive and flashy lawyer Tanner Bolt. His pride would be stripped away and his money drained, and his only ally, Margot, would be accused by the media of being his mistress. See, that's the power of public opinion. I didn't need to kill him, I just needed everyone to want to see him dead. But I knew that paper can't wrap fire forever, so I had to be careful. Greta and her boyfriend had been too friendly to me lately, taking me golfing, drinking with me, and tentatively asking about my story. I smiled nonchalantly and kept playing the role of the slightly timid, lying yet sympathetic woman. I thought I had everything under control, until that damn money bag slipped out of my pocket, fell onto the floor right in front of them. Greta showed her true colors. She and that boyfriend, no, an accomplice, broke through my defenses with their cheap tricks, pulling me from mastermind back to a woman all alone. They took my money, my identity, my last ace up my sleeve. I never felt more human than at that moment, not a god. I slumped onto the bed, digging my nails into my palms, shouting in anger. Cry? I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of my emotions. I just quietly got up and walked to the payphone on the corner. The moment I dialed the number, I knew I was sending myself back to the hell I swore never to return to. I reached out to Desi, the man who was always obsessed with me. The way he looked at me was like looking at a lost little bird. He said I was hurt and he would protect me. He didn't ask where I'd been or where the money went. He only asked if I was cold or hungry. He thought he was my savior. What he didn't know was that he was just a backup plan for my escape. While we watched TV together, the little bitch Andy on the screen admitted her relationship with Nick, looking pitiful, innocent, and naive.
Why is she dressed like a babysitter?
Daisy took me to his so-called safe house. The walls were glass, the furniture was cold. He said he built me a paradise. I said nothing, but there were cameras everywhere, covering every corner, every blind spot. He called it protection, but I saw imprisonment. At that moment, I realized I had escaped one prison only to fall into another. That night, I was the first to approach him. It wasn't emotion, it was strategy. Meanwhile, Nick gave an interview. He said he made mistakes, said he missed me, said he cared about me. I almost cried at that moment, but not because I was moved, because I was angry. This is my script. How dare he change the lines? The police were not idle either. They arrested Margot, using the carefully planted credit card records to charge her with conspiracy. And I grew more and more disgusted day by day under Desi's suffocating care. So I launched a new plan. Before he went to work, I deliberately messed up his hair. After he left, I soaked half of his shirt in red wine. It looked exactly like blood. I cried in front of the camera, acting so well I almost believed it myself. That night, I took a painkiller early. In the bathroom, I used a wine bottle and rope to fake signs of domestic abuse. He came, I seduced him to bed, and I took a box cutter and cleanly slit his throat. And I was finally free. When I appeared in front of that mansion, covered in blood, the media's flashbulbs popped. I deliberately staggered and fell into Nick's arms. This was a real return. At the hospital, I acted like a fighter. Rhonda watched me closely, and I knew she didn't believe me, but she had no proof. She had suspicion, but I had the script and the audience. Nick took me home. He tried to interrogate me. Then I told him everything, every plan, every detail. He was stunned. I saw the man who once loved me deeply in his eyes, completely dead. The next day, I forced him to smile in front of the camera, not for me, but for the carefully woven myth of us as the perfect couple. He hated me. Margot knew everything and was furious, but she was powerless. The next morning, he was ready for the interview, prepared to expose me. But I acted first. I pulled out the pregnancy test stick, 2 lines.
I didn't touch you.
He froze, then he broke down. He slammed me against the wall, but still kept quiet. In front of the cameras, I announced that we were expecting a new life. I won. I knew this wasn't a happy ending, but it was the ending I wrote.